She thought it was just another shortcut, a quiet drive through a gate that didn't belong to her. But what started as a small act of arrogance soon spiraled into something much darker. For weeks, she ignored the warnings, the signs, and the rights of a man who simply wanted peace on his own land. But what she didn't realize was that every action has a breaking point. And this time, she pushed too far. He was patient, but he was ready. And when the trap was finally set, nobody saw it coming. This is the story of power, pride, and justice. The land stretched wide beneath the Texas sun. Rolling pastures, wooden fences, and a ranch gate that stood as both a boundary and a promise. To the man who owned it, Marcus Johnson, a veteran and proud landowner, it was more than property. It was freedom. After years of service overseas, this ranch was a sanctuary, a place where the chaos of the world couldn't reach him. But peace is fragile. His ranch sat near a growing suburban community. Families moved in, lawns manicured, and with them came the neighborhood association, the HOA. Rules, complaints, and unwritten codes of who belonged. At first, Marcus ignored the glances. He didn't need approval. He had earned this land. Yet the tension grew. And at the center of it was a woman named Karen, known for her complaints, her constant demands, and her belief that the HOA's reach stretched farther than it should. She started small. Notes left at his gate, complaints about the eyesore of his fencing. But soon, her behavior escalated. Instead of respecting his property, she began using his private gate as a shortcut for her daily drives. Every time, the heavy creak of the ranch gate echoed through the land, a sound that felt like violation. Marcus posted signs. He spoke directly, but the response was always the same, dismissive, entitled, and defiant. To her, his boundaries didn't matter. And that's when Marcus realized this wasn't just about a gate. It was about respect. And respect was something he refused to let her take away. At first, Marcus thought it would pass. Maybe it was ignorance, maybe arrogance. But day after day, the sound of her tires crunching against his gravel drive reminded him otherwise. She wasn't just ignoring him. She was mocking him. Each intrusion felt heavier, more deliberate, as if testing how far she could push before he broke. The neighbors whispered. Some sympathized, others looked away. It was easier to ignore conflict than to confront it. And for Marcus, that silence hurt almost as much as Karen's actions. He had fought for his country, only to return home and fight again for the simple right to close his own gate. One morning, he found deep ruts carved into his land where Karen's SUV had veered off the driveway. The grass was torn, the soil displaced, and a piece of his ranch, his pride, had been scarred. He called the HOA, but the response was cold. "It's a community matter," they told him. "Work it out between yourselves." But Marcus knew better. This wasn't about community. It was about power. And Karen held just enough influence within the HOA to make his complaints vanish. The frustration built into sleepless nights. He replayed every encounter in his mind. Her smirk, her dismissive tone, the way she waved off his warnings as if his words carried no weight. He had seen this before, overseas and at home, the dangerous mix of entitlement and disrespect. So he decided to act. The plan wasn't reckless. It was careful, calculated. He studied the patterns of her drives, the time she passed through, the way she always ignored the posted signs. And with that knowledge, he prepared. Marcus reinforced the gate, securing it with a hidden lock. He installed cameras, not obvious ones, but discreet enough to capture every detail. And finally, he set the trap. A spike strip, carefully placed behind the gate, designed not to harm her, but to stop her. It was the kind of measure no one would expect, until it was too late. The waiting was the hardest part. Each day, the tension coiled tighter, like a storm waiting to break. And when it did, it would expose more than just Karen's arrogance. It would reveal the deeper truth, that even in quiet suburbs, battles for respect and equality never truly end. The day came suddenly. The sun was high, the air heavy, and Marcus stood at a distance, watching. He had reinforced the gate the night before, locking it firmly in place. But he knew Karen. She wouldn't stop. She never stopped. Sure enough, the familiar hum of her SUV approached. She didn't slow, didn't hesitate. She pulled up, expecting the gate to swing open like it always had. But this time, it didn't move. She revved the engine, impatient, her arrogance on full display. And then, with one sharp move, she pushed forward. The sound was instant, tires bursting against the hidden spikes, rubber tearing, the SUV jolting violently to a stop. For the first time, the gate held firm, and Karen's path was blocked. Marcus stepped forward, the cameras recording every second. He didn't yell, didn't gloat. He simply stood, documents in hand. Proof of ownership, proof of trespass, proof that her arrogance had finally met its end. Karen's face flushed with rage, then shock, then something else, fear. Around them, neighbors began to gather, drawn by the noise. For so long, they had turned away, but now they were witnesses, and the evidence was undeniable. In that moment, the power shifted. She wasn't in control. Not anymore. The trap had been sprung, not just against her tires, but against her pride. And for the first time, she realized this wasn't just about a gate. It was about a man's right to be respected on his own land. The HOA tried to intervene, of course. They called meetings, drafted letters, and whispered about community standards. But the video told the truth. Every frame of Karen's defiance was captured, every moment of her trespass undeniable. And when Marcus presented it, not with anger but with calm resolve, the narrative shifted. What once was brushed aside as just a dispute became a clear story of harassment, disrespect, and arrogance. Karen's influence crumbled. The HOA could no longer protect her without exposing their own bias. For once, the evidence was too strong to ignore. Marcus didn't celebrate. There was no victory dance, no smug satisfaction. What he felt was something quieter justice, a validation that his boundaries mattered, that his rights were not negotiable. The land that he had fought to protect overseas was the same land he defended at home, and this time the battle was won. But the impact went further. Neighbors who had once stayed silent began to see differently. They realized how easily respect could be denied, how quickly arrogance could strip away dignity. And they saw Marcus not just as a man defending his property, but as a man standing against something much bigger, a mindset that said rules apply differently depending on who you are. The story spread beyond the neighborhood, shared online, whispered through communities. It became a reminder of something uncomfortable but necessary. Respect is not optional, and when it's denied, consequences follow. Marcus returned to his ranch, the quiet restored, the gates standing strong. But deep down, he knew this wasn't the last time he'd face a battle like this. Because racism, arrogance, and disrespect don't vanish overnight. They linger, waiting for the next chance to surface. The question isn't if it will happen again. The question is, will people finally stand up when it does? And if you believe stories like this matter, if you believe they need to be heard, make sure to share this video, subscribe, and help keep these voices alive. Because silence only protects the problem, and together we can be the difference.